Day two of the action here in Lillehammer, a mini tour, and the women racing over 10, the men over 15. It's a freestyle race, and again, we're back to the time trial format, so it takes a long time to get the field underway. Over 100 competitors in the men's race later on this morning. Thrilling sprints yesterday, and hopefully we're going to have a similar sort of action here today. The tour, of course, starting in Ruka last weekend. Well, usually we have lots of snow and lots of cold up in Ruka. It wasn't too cold and there wasn't much snow. Therese Johaug making her comeback. Mike, she was fantastic.
She was. She did nothing wrong. She didn't have an advantage with that early start bit, but so she was set up to be chased down, but nobody could touch that phenomenal tempo.
Yeah,
she's back as she used to be.
Coming back from her ban, and it was an impressive performance from her. And we also saw some good races from Ebba Andersson, who came in third. Charlotte Kalla, who took second place. Kalla on very good form in the first two World Cups last year as well. And, of course, one of the big stars of the Olympic Games and a hugely popular figure. But nice to see the body language and between Kalla and Johaug. Johaug, of course, coming back from the ban. She dreamt of winning her first World Cup. She's done just that.
The last 2 years has been really tough. I'm working hard the whole way to come back and to win a competition again. And I have a dream that at the first World Cup race I want to win, and today I do it. So I'm really happy now. I'm really proud of myself that I can have this high level without all these competitions. So of course, I'm looking forward for the next races.
Well, it was a phenomenally high level. She was 22 seconds clear of Charlotte Kalla, who was another 10 seconds clear of Ebba Andersson. So over 30 seconds between the top three last weekend. Is it going to be a similar story here today? I think the course here, Mike, suits Johaug. The bigger the climbs, the steeper the climbs, the better she does.
I think so. I think it's even better profile here than it was last weekend. The snow, though, very soft. She's very light. That might be an issue. There's
not a lot of snow around, as you can see, but we'll be back with the action straight after this break. So the last few minutes of preparation before the women's 10-kilometre freestyle race. Air temperature at 3.7. It is not ideal. I've just spoken to a friend a little further north, near Hemsedal, and there's no snow there either. They said, don't come to Norway too early. Such a contrast to last year. Now, let's have a look at the course. Look at the profile. It's much more important to see where the climbing is. Big climb out of the stadium, essentially, and then a massive climb at the 3-kilometre mark. Twice around a 5-kilometre loop, Mike. That climb at the end is the decider, surely.
I think it is, and that climb goes on for, what, 1 minute 45. It's a continual climb, and we mentioned, talking earlier, Therese Johaug, that very light, slender body weight. That climb will suit her, and all the climbs in this course will suit her. It will suit many others, but she seems to have the desire at the start of this new season.
So the start list for you, and you'll see that the seed's really in the middle of the bunch. We've got 75 starters in all. I don't expect to see the same three who podiumed in Ruka a week ago. That was Johaug, of course, Kalla and Andersson. Andersson a better classic skier than she is freestyle, so we see how she gets on. Usberg going 44. She needs a podium finish at least to get her season started. She looked sharp in the early stages of the Ruka race, but faded. 58 Kalla, Anna Svensson starting just after her. Sweden are the team to beat. I know Johaug won the individual in Ruka, but overall the Swedes have really been dominating.
I think so. And Kalla, when you look at Kalla's second last weekend, today you would say on paper it's a slight advantage to her in that today is freestyle. So Kalla will be chasing any early time set by Johaug, who starts bib number 19.
So Kalla Johaug, certain potential winners. Anyone else fall into that bracket for you?
Well, I was looking Heidi Weng. We know she's been off unwell, so unlikely, but you never know. Rested a little more so.
Yeah, the form will come at some stage, but we haven't seen it quite yet.
And we haven't seen Ragnhild Hage. Obviously, we know what she can do in her skating on any given big day, but can she do it today? It's at home. Why not?
Yeah, how do we know what she can do? Because in Pyeongchang last year, 25 minutes dead to take the gold medal in the women's 10-kilometre freestyle. So she'll be hoping for great things. There's Johaug. She is focused. He's focused. She expects people to get out of her way, not the other way around. And who can blame her? It's always a bit crowded in the warm-up area, isn't it, Mike?
It is, and she reminds me a little of Ole Einar Bjørndalen. He used to just head looking forward with his little ski poles in his hand, just dancing around the warm-up pen. I wonder if Johaug has got one eye on her third overall World Cup season title. Not many have done that. Only 5 other athletes have had 3 in their lifetime. And of course, I think that's what her goal is this season. Of course it is. But her sprinting needs to pick up a little.
Yeah, that would be interesting. These sort of mini tours are quite useful because if she can get the 200 points at the end of the tour, then that sort of negates the effect of not even qualifying for the final of the sprint.
Very much, and I think that 33 effectively on paper in this mini tour, 33-second deficit, she could beat the field by that margin today. So therefore, as you say, not losing out in terms of sprinting.
Yeah, and incidentally, because it's a mini tour, only 50 points for a win in today's race. Number 1, Rosie Brennan. The countdown just about to start for the beginning of the women's 10-kilometre freestyle. 75 starters, so it is going to take just under 40 minutes to get them all out on the tracks. Rosie Brennan from Alaska will start it off. Now, Alaska suffering a bit of an earthquake. Was that last night or yesterday? 7.1 on the Richter scale, and not a single casualty as far as I'm aware. That has to be rare. It's a big old shake, and the state of some of the roads, unbelievable. She will have been thinking about that last night. Now she has to focus on the next 10,000 metres. 101st World Cup, so plenty of experience for Rosie Brennan. Only 55th in the World Cup last year, so if she makes top 30 today, that goes down as a good race. And I think Sadie Bjørnsson's performances in the sprint yesterday may just have inspired her. Zara Biateva for Russia, second season, 21 years old now, and another potential star. The Russians have looked a little better, Mike. I know, you know, Bolshinov in the men's and Belarukova in the women's have been outstanding, but there seems to be a little more strength in depth.
There does. This new crop, and there's a lot of young athletes here in the Russian women's team, without a doubt. They look great. Their technique is better than the old school Russians we used to see, so they really have worked on the foundations.
Anna Shevchenko from Kazakhstan comes from Pavlodar, which is northeast. Had a little look at the weather there this morning, -16, so she's probably quite glad she's in Lillehammer.
What is it, +4 here? And in fact, that's a factor today. The track is going to break up. Yes, there's been a Nordic combined rain race on parts of this track, but as the race progresses, it'll become more boggy.
Yeah, you don't want to be number 75. I think, and actually, Stina Nielsen, who's tall, slightly heavier than many of the athletes, she goes number 60, so she could suffer if the tracks if they don't hold out. Raziamova for the Czech Republic, 27 now. Didn't start the 10-kilometre classic in Ruka, so we'll wait and see what her endurance form is like. Chulaneva getting ready.
Yeah, I was just saying, in the wet snow, you need your coaches there with a screwdriver to get the wet snow clogging your ski boots up, pre-fitting into the binding.
Chulaneva, a couple of roller ski wins over the summer. Roller skiing, an essential part of the training, and but a win in roller skis is very different to a win on snow, simply because you're faster, there's less resistance, so more of it comes down to your muscle speed than it does to your VO2.
And I think technically, as Soboleva gets ready for her start, I think technically roller skis, they're slightly easier. You can get away with a slightly less efficient technique.
Yeah, very good junior Soboleva, and 18th in the sprint yesterday, so that was a good performance. She'll be followed out of the gate by Murud of Norway, who didn't make it through into the top 30, finished 40th yesterday, and needs a good result today to get herself into a competitive position. Under 23 sprint medal, as you can see, in the classic style. So she'll be looking forward to tomorrow's race, the start of which will be based on the results of today, and it will be in the classic style, and another 10,000 metres for the women. So the programme here in Lillehammer changes just about every year.
It does. I think it's great. The final day as Lampic gets ready. One individual World Cup win, that was in sprint racing. I think that was the pre-Olympics 2017, Pyeongchang.
It was the pre-Olympics in Pyeongchang, yes, the sprint event there.
It was surprising, a lot of the big nations didn't take part in that World Cup. You would think that that would be the place to go to get a feel for the pre-Olympics. Didn't affect the big names, the big teams, really.
And that was where Justina Kowalczyk got World Cup win number 50.
It was.
In the pursuit out there in Pyeongchang. '15 is Schlind of Norway, comes from Oppdal. Number 10.
Russian fans in the spectators' pens there.
From Zelemelis, Victoria Karl, 37th in the World Cup standings at the end of last year. Got a top 20 in Ruka, so if she can get another top 20, that would put her in a decent position in the distance World Cup standings. The Crystal Globes at stake, incidentally, at the end of the season. You have a sprint Crystal Globe, a distance Crystal Globe, and then the combination, which is the overall. The overall has to be the one to go for.
I think so, and that's what Therese is today, and I'm sure in every race she'll have that in the back of her mind. Every single point is important. And the Tour de Ski, starting before the New Year celebrations this year, she'll be looking to win that as well.
Istamina for Russia, and a strong medal, a strong member of their junior team at the World Championships last time. She's 21 now. Looked good. She's been training in and racing in Kontiolahti, doing the sort of pre-season races. I was quite impressed with her form up there, and that was in November, obviously. So she's capable of top 20. Pia Fink for Germany. Top 35 would be an excellent run. World Cup points would be a bonus. Top 30 getting points.
Quite a lonely race out here today, Patrick. It's a larger loop. It's a 5-kilometre loop twice. So a lot of these athletes, they will get involved in traffic second time round on their second lap. But I would imagine we're looking at what, say 15 minutes, 14, 15 minutes for the average athlete here. Some faster, maybe 13 minutes round this 5K.
Hennig, who comes from Oberwiesenthal, just getting underway. Another athlete who just got into the top 20 in Ruka, and actually overall not bad from Germany, but not spectacular. Certainly their women are doing far better than their men are at the moment. They don't have a single athlete in the seeded group for the men's. Here we go with Antonia Freibel. So 3 Germans getting underway, one after the other. And Freibel in a good position. She can chase her teammates. She knows exactly how she compares to them, all the training they do together.
And Team Germany, very much like Team Russia, they've focused so much on a new batch of athletes, and they've done it so well. So many of them have picked up medals in the Junior World Championships.
21 is Harsham. Johaug, who we have seen a lot of, starting 19, so she hasn't got long. Schlind of Norway will be the first of the big Norwegian names to get underway. Murad already out on the tracks, having started number 7. And Silja Odas Schlind, another athlete from Oppdal. Have you been there?
Oppdal. I can't place it. I think I have.
I'm thinking West Coast, but I may be wrong. We'll check it out.
Rings a bell in my brain.
A lot of them come from Trondheim. The top athletes, most of them base themselves around Lillehammer, simply because the conditions here are so good. Not today, but generally they get snow early and it stays till late.
Well, Caitlin Patterson, she's probably used to some cold weather, just south off Montreal, just within America, about 40 k's from the Canadian border. Pretty cold up there.
And next to go, the yellow bib, the World Cup leader, Yulia Belorukova for Russia. Now, she won the first sprint of the season, finished 5th in the distance race in Ruka, dropped to 26th, knocked out in the first round of the sprint finals yesterday, but she holds on to top spot because only 50 points going to the winner yesterday as opposed to the full 100. Otherwise, it might have been a different situation. She needs a good run today to hold on to the yellow bib. Masako Ishida, always impressive, so difficult in a team the size of the Japanese, and by that I mean the fact that, you know, they don't have 5, 6, 7, 8 world-class athletes.
No, very difficult and very isolated. I know they have used, this year the glaciers were terrible in Europe, but they always come over to use the Ramsau Glacier, and it means so much time away from home, as it does for many of the World Cup athletes.
Now, Ishida, Johaug, an advantage being lighter than most of the other athletes in these wet conditions?
I think so, without doubt, especially on the second lap where the traffic begins to bring this, turn this surface of snow at +4 degrees into very wet surface.
Well, Johaug has gone off hard. We saw that in Ruka, and she's going to be tough to match over the first 5K, certainly. Early days of the women's 10-kilometre freestyle, first freestyle distance race of the season. So interesting for that alone. Johanna Matintalo of Finland just starting. Harsum and Veng. That was Tyrrell Udnes Veng. We've got 3 Vengs racing today. The 2 twins, plus Heidi Veng, who we're hoping to see in slightly better action. Heidi Veng goes off 29, exactly 5 minutes behind her teammate Therese Johaug, who is underway. Lara Mononen from Finland.
Oh, oof. That's not the way to start.
Well, at least the pole stayed in one piece. We saw one broken pole yesterday, and it just happened to be Clavo.
And it was critical.
Yeah.
The wrong moment. I did think a post-race, though, she just got it wrapped in there.
That is just a bit of bad luck. There's a little hole, and that's appeared because it's so warm. The snow around the support, the timing structure, just softened up. But you've got to pay attention to these things. Schlinn now goes for Norway, and what is she? 27, just 27.
Well, Schlinn goes. Therese Johaug just gone through the 800 meters, and I was just trying to estimate how much she would take off those who already gone through. Well, it's just under 10 seconds, 9.7 ahead of the rest.
In 800 meters, that is ludicrous pacing from Therese Johaug. Has she gone too fast this time? But if there's one person who can keep a high tempo going all the way through, it is Johaug. You only have to think back to, what, 2007 at the World Championships, 2011 at the World Championships in the 30K. We couldn't believe the tempo she maintained throughout.
I have a feeling that Therese Johaug could win this race today. It's only 10 kilometers by, let's go for 28 seconds.
28. Well, she was 22 ahead of Kalla last weekend in the classic race. Charlotte Kalla, as you said, is a better freestyle skier, so maybe it will be a little closer. Brennan, who started first, still has the fastest time, 9:52 at 3.3.
And this is the climb which we alluded to at the start. It goes on for, 1:43 up to 1:50, 1 minute 50. It's a long climb. Yeah, and it seems to get steeper in this midpoint. Still goes on past this camera.
It was the key climb in the men's pursuit last year, and where Sundby thought he'd got the race by the scruff of the neck, opening up a good gap of, what, some 50 meters by the top of the hill, only to be beaten by a bullet across the line. One Johannes Clavo, who was astonishing in the closing stages. I won't accept anything less exciting than that on Sunday, yeah.
In tomorrow's race. And we started talking about Klæbo yesterday. Yes, he broke his pole at a crucial point in the race. I did wonder, could he have looked for a spare pole? It would have he would never have changed where he finished in that heat at the back, but he didn't attempt to pick up a spare.
32. Jonna Sundling, who you might recognise from yesterday. She won her first ever World Cup in the sprint. Here we go with Heidi Weng. Last season, you know, in some ways it was fantastic because she was top of the table, but in other ways the Olympics was dire, just had nothing to give.
It was sad to see that. In my opinion, she was racing well here. She would raced well all season leading into the Olympics, and then all of a sudden the out-and-out favourite on form athlete going into the games had nothing for when it mattered most.
Parmakoski, always a danger, particularly over this distance in this style. I think she's a better mass start racer, to be honest, because she just hangs on. The number of times that she was the only one that could hold on to Marit Bjørgen's tail was astonishing. In the time trials, Mike, do you think we'll see something special?
I think she's a better classic skier, so today maybe not her strength, but she's matured very well, I think, over the last 3 seasons. And that's last year, 3 of her victories, 3 of her 5 victories came last year, Parmakoski. Well, Therese Johaug, Patrick, at this 3.3, she had a 9-second advantage at 800. We need to be looking at 15 seconds, I think.
Well, this is the top of the first ascent. And she's going to gain, what, 5-6 seconds on this climb alone if she's maintained the pace we saw earlier on. Pia Fink going through 3.3. She's not going to be far off the pace as we go back to see Sundling, yesterday's winner, just starting. Big moment for her. And we alluded to the fact that it was probably better that she won than Nielsen in terms of the Swedish team. So the spirits, you know, it has a better effect when a youngster wins than an old hand.
Possibly, but I bet Nielsen doesn't share that opinion. She desperately wanted that win yesterday. But isn't it interesting? You know, you get one big name in a team, the young athletes training alongside, you learn the skills they've learned from her.
Yeah.
And they can always maybe take it a little further. And
from Charlotte Kalla, of course. Sweden are on the comeback, and I think after the first 2 weekends, they'll already have their eye on the Women's Nations Cup trophy come the end of the season. I can't even remember how long ago it is that Norway didn't win it. 29, of course, was Heidi Weng, who now has Rosie Brennan tucked in behind her. A little bit sharper, but not totally convinced by Heidi Weng's style. It doesn't look to be flowing as it usually does.
I'm pleased to see that it's certainly looking sparky again. Will it threaten Therese Johaug? We'll have to wait and see. 800 meters, it's there. It's 6 seconds off Therese Johaug.
Ebba Andersson with the second fastest time now at 0.8. And the reason that Johaug had a 10-second lead early on is because she was the second of the seeds to go. Yulia Belarukova started 17. We ought to get some indication of her progress. She was down in 9th at 0.8, some 11.9 seconds off the time set by Johaug.
Well, Johaug has gone through the 2.2. It is a 15-second lead to her teammate Schlind. Belarukova's in 3rd place, 19 behind Therese Johaug.
Well, Johaug is going to be starting this climb very shortly, so she could be, what are we looking at, 22 seconds come the 3.3 when she goes through. It will be reduced later in the race, but she should be coming around the corner any moment now. You'll see the blonde hair. That looks like it. The tempo is familiar. Here she comes. And a while to go. She's closing in on Belarukova, who started a minute ahead of her.
Well, that's a carrot to chase down, isn't it? The yellow bib, just, as you say, a minute ahead.
Do you think there'll be a word about I'm going to swap the red for the yellow when she goes past?
Look at the time. She's got 43 in hand and not far to go to cross this line. And this is where her strength lies. Steep, steep climbing, tough conditions. Oh,
Whatever you think about the ban, Mike, and I know your opinion, you have to be impressed. 2 years training on your own to come back in this sort of shape at World Cup level, having not raced any of these athletes over that period, is quite astonishing.
I think it shows the desire. I have to go with that. It shows her absolute desire to come back and to still be a winner many times over. She has that desire without a doubt. No, well done to her. Must have been a very tough 2 years for her, 2 winters, especially with an Olympic Games.
Just about halfway through the field now as Laura Gimler starts. Natalia Matvieva has just started, who finished 8th yesterday. Not a bad sprint performance from Matvieva. Very exciting final. The women's final was superb, as it was in Ruka. I think that's going to be a World Cup trophy that's hard fought for this year. Charlotte Kalla, Sweden's #1 in this sort of style and this sort of distance. Looks a little bit flustered. Unusual for her.
Swedes flustered? No. Very calm.
Starting a minute behind Therese Johaug, but Harsham has seen nothing of her teammate on the course so far, and she is going to go into what, second, third place? The gap, 31 seconds. That is astonishing. So she's gained 10 seconds on everyone in front of her over the from 2.2 to 3.3.
Harsham, good range, good pressure through the right side there, the right arm, the right leg combined at the same moment. Pressure going through. Therese Johaug, actually, I've been maybe singing her praises too much for this race. Ebba Andersson is still on her case at 2.2 kilometers, only 3.9 seconds behind. And,
yeah, be interesting to see what Andersson does at the top of the 3.3, because that's the next big split time for her. Andersson started 26, so she should be through that point in the next minute or so. Hopefully we'll pick up on her. Merlundgren, good sprinter.
I think we saw her fall yesterday in one of the heats. No, she just dropped off the pace. She was 12, 13 seconds behind. But this is the really good batch of juniors, now seniors from Sweden.
I guess in the sprint, in a mini tour like this, Mike, if you realise you're not going to finish in the top 2 and you're not going to progress to the next round, you might as well ease up, save something for the next day.
Possibly. Yes, in terms of the sprinting. And when you look at what they did yesterday, 4 times around a 1.3 kilometer track, incorporating a lot of these hills, it was a hard day out on the skis.
Now we're looking for the Swedish suit of Ebba Andersson, and it looks as though Andersson is skiing at the same sort of pace as Therese Johaug. Only 3 seconds between them at the last split. Andersson has closed a lot down on Kari Øyer-Schlind. They started a minute apart, and Andersson has closed that gap by some 30, maybe even 40 seconds. Well, that's a fantastic effort. Istamina on to 5.8, over halfway round now. 10Ks today, 10Ks tomorrow. We've had 2 5K races for the women in the past. Jessie Diggins getting her first ever win here over the 5K distance. What are we going to see from Diggins today? She's not the best of form. She's starting number 50, so she's still got a few minutes to go before she has to get the skis on.
I think we'll see something really good from Diggins today. She's one of these fighters. Maybe the conditions don't suit her.
Well, the news out on the track, Mike, is that Ebba Andersson is actually travelling faster than Therese Johaug between 2 and 3. So she's climbed that big hill a good 1.5 seconds quicker than Therese Johaug. That is phenomenal, and it sets up a very, very good contest today. Sweden going from strength to strength. So Johaug 9.19 at 3.3, Andersson 9.20. The next is Istamina at 9.51. Who else can get into the picture? Who else can challenge for a podium finish today? Von Siebenthal into 3rd, but 30 seconds down. Parmakoski is the next bib we're looking for, and she's wearing 30, should be coming around the corner any moment now.
This is Therese Stadlober, the girl from Ramsar. Better in classic than she is in freestyle. but has improved, I think. She's put a lot of work in this summer to improve her freestyle.
Palmakoski just appearing around the corner. I'm not sure Palmakoski's managed to hold on to the pace set by Johaug and Anderson. I think we could well see a 10-second gap, maybe even more than that.
You just get the feeling, Patrick, when Heidi Weng gets the information that she's 17 behind Johaug at this point, the head may drop down a little. She's put a lot of effort into that first 3.3.
Well, maybe the coach should just say, you're in the third. That's encouraging.
Keep the positives.
Keep the positives.
I'm just interesting to see who Therese Johaug is going to latch on to. So there'll be an athlete who's just recently started ahead of Therese Johaug with fresh legs.
Palmakoski and Weng were only a second apart on the last one, and she goes into third, so she's opened up a little bit of a gap over Heidi Weng. Here is Jessie Diggins. We haven't seen the best of her so far. We're not expecting to see the best of her until she goes to Seefeld and the World Championships. That is what the American team are all focused on. But you know, although sluggish last weekend, you'd expect to see something from her. When you've won in a venue, there's that much more excitement.
Very much so, and I think Jess Diggins, this is more her strength, isn't it, the freestyle? Well, who has Therese Johaug latched onto?
Well, she's gone past Belarukova. She's got no one to latch onto. That's an issue for Johaug because she's now behind the traffic, and it's going to be a little bit of extra work. She's going to have to give a good yell to those in front, and Patterson of USA should get out of the way when Johaug makes her presence felt. 52 seconds the margin, but it's not those who started in front of her that count. It's Eva Andersson who started just a little bit behind.
And without a doubt, Patrick, the coaches will absolutely have informed Therese Johaug that there is a very fast Swede and probably a number of other athletes on her case. And of course, Eva Andersson just 1 second behind at 3.3. Johaug will know that by now.
Sundling, who got the full 50 points yesterday in the sprint, was never expected to hold that sort of a performance today. She's an out-and-out sprinter, but I wouldn't mind betting that in 4 or 5 years' time, she'll be just as good at the distance. You look at Bjuggen's career, you look at so many of their careers, they start as world-class sprinters and evolve into distance athletes.
That's so true, the confidence built over the short distance. Interesting to see Sundling there, skate 2ing up this climb. She's so strong. The tempo was quite slow. It has to be at this gradient, but showing that she has got extreme core strength, arm and, of course, leg strength at the same time.
Johaug through the halfway point in 13:03. So if they get negative splits, surely they can't do that on a day like this. Anderson has gone through as well, now 1.9 behind, and from 3.3 to 5 is predominantly downhill. You do have that climb that we saw in the sprint yesterday, but there's a lot of downhill, so either Johaug's downhill technique is a little bit quicker or her skis are a little bit faster. We're not to know which.
Well, this next 5Ks, so that is Anderson through the 5 kilometers, 1.9 behind, as you said. It's going to be a very good final 5Ks.
Nielsen still to start, starting number 60, exactly half an hour after Rosie Brennan of USA, who is closing in on the finish. Actually, won't be long before they come across. Brennan through 7.2 in 1944. 36 and struggling is Hannah Falk, who finished 6th yesterday. I don't know whether it's yesterday's efforts that are holding her back, but that is not the sort of tempo that gets you into a top position.
She had a good look to her right there. Have a look at Sobolova. Maybe tuck in behind her.
Razimova, just through your picture. Sobolova here for Russia. 101st in the World Cup standings last year. If she can take 20 places off each year, that would be a good progression. Falk, 51.4. No surprise to see her so far behind. Brennan coming into the finish. Started first. She's going to finish first. And then she just has to wait and see how her time stands. 27.51. The winning time in the Olympics, different track, different conditions, was 25 minutes. But anything under 25 is very, very quick. Now, what has Anderson done relative to Johaug? 5.8 kilometers, Mike. A little climb out of the stadium. Not the biggest.
She's quite amazing. She's continuing to keep this tempo going as fast as the first lap, it appears. She's going to lose, maybe as expected, she's lose a couple of seconds on this climb from the stadium back up to this 800-meter point.
Yeah.
Not much, though.
If Johaug's good at one thing, it is setting a pace and keeping it. I think Eva Andersson just said, OK, I'm going to see if I can stay with her. But at this rate, there could be a 20-second margin. Charlotte Kalla, certainly someone else who can challenge for the win here today. Stina Nielsen, the Olympic sprint champion, about to start. She got a silver, a second place yesterday in the sprint event, outdone by Sundling, her teammate, in the last 10 meters or so. Not expected to win the Tour, but, you know, Stina Nielsen put up an incredible fight in the Tour de Ski last year.
Yes, she did. Almost taking it all the way, but then she's not so good in terms of the final climb. She loses a lot of pace, especially to Heidi Weng on the final climb day. Heidi's still at the races, still pushing well.
Yeah, she went through the 5-kilometer mark in 4th position, 22, but that margin has now grown dramatically to 36. So Weng's, I guess that's what happens when you've missed a month's training from being ill, Mike. You don't have the stamina for the longer races. You can hold on for 4 5K, but then you start to fade. So that's something that will improve as the season goes on. Usberg, how has she started? We thought she started a little bit too quick in Ruka.
Oh, well, yes, she had Therese just ahead of her, and that was what her aim was, to try and stay expecting Therese to win the race. But that was her undoing as well.
Is it going to be 2 distance races from 2 coming up towards the 8.3-kilometer stage? After this, just one short, sharp climb to go, and that won't give Johaug any trouble whatsoever. She's going to be over a minute clear of Brennan going through the 8.3 marker.
The tempo, Patrick, it's still there, but it's reduced a little bit as expected. Second time up this brutal climb.
But she's taken 15 seconds out of Brennan in the last 1,100 meters. She's not holding back too much.
It's incredible. And the coaches, when she was just 9, 10-year-old, said, well, to her parents, said she'll never make it. She's too small, too light. But she's dedicated. How wrong was that?
Yeah, they probably said the same to Murillo Desault, who was a tiny figure, but my goodness, he could move those limbs. 65, Mutagadova for Kazakhstan. We're getting towards the end of the start sheet. All the favourites are now out on the track. Stina Nielsen was the last of the big names to start, and Johaug will be enjoying this, racing at home after a long period out. 33. Sevsek from Slovenia, lives in Bled, beautiful area. Up the Triglav for training. Don't know what the snow conditions are like there at the moment.
Well, in fact, excellent. Well, the snow is down for the biathlon starting tomorrow, down in Pokljuka. But no, the snow seems to be the natural snow. Is just hasn't happened, and when it hasn't happened here by the 1st of December, look, the fields are green. Then it's a problematic season.
Brennan's time stands, and actually Rosie Brennan is still in 4th place at 7.2 kilometers, so she's had an astonishingly good run. Remember, she was only 55th in the World Cup standings last year, so if she finishes in the top 10, that's a big boost for her. Björnsson of USA goes through in 53. Björnsson's moment was yesterday, 3rd in the sprint, and a really good effort from her. I thought she raced very, very intelligently to get that podium finish. The champions of the future, they'll be looking forward to seeing Klæbo in action. A lot of Norwegians saying that Klæbo's misfortune this year, probably the best thing that could happen to him. Knock all evidence of complacency out of the young man.
Yeah, well, maybe. It's a tough pill to swallow when when he was walking tall, leading into the first races.
Anderson still, don't be confused by that. She's 1 second behind at 3.3. We'll try and update you on Anderson's progress. The last we saw at 7.2, she was 8.4 seconds behind. I think it's going to take a fall from Johaug for Anderson to get back into this, but by going hard early, Anderson could well get herself a second podium of the season.
Yeah, very much. Great to see Jess Diggins, and what a summer she must have had. And I know her month of May was very public. She was asked to do so much, and I suppose that's got to be difficult. She wants to promote cross-country skiing, proud of her sport.
Here's the last climb for Therese Johaug, and why she's sprinting like this when she's so far clear, because she knows that Ebba Anderson is dangerous. She's got another 5 meters or so. Now it's downhill to the finish, and Therese Johaug pulling out all the stops here in Lillehammer. She wants a win, and she needs a good win to get back, make up for the fact that she didn't go through to the knockout phases yesterday in the sprint event. But this sets her up for a fantastic race tomorrow. At this rate, she could be starting first. Picks the right lane for the finish. And the margins are going to be massive, but it's all about Ebba Anderson, who started just 5 minutes or so behind her. 50 meters to go. 1:33 ahead at the moment. This is going to be well under the 26-minute mark. And Johaug with an astonishing run. 27-minute mark, I meant. 26:22, the lead time, probably the winning time. Has Anderson got a chance, Mike, at 8.3, 10 seconds down?
I don't think so. We just saw Ebba Anderson there, and she seems to have lost a lot of the early fight, the momentum, and her clear race plan was to stay with Therese Johaug no matter what. But I think the no matter what is catching up with her now. She really is struggling in the last couple of kilometres.
Settling up to 5.8. Charlotte Callow, we certainly need to try and track. She's gone through 800 meters and she's 4 seconds down already. So she's not started quite as hard as her teammate Anderson, and it won't be long before she goes through 3.3. We'll keep you informed of her progress. Nielsen also, Mike, nothing from Nielsen in the first split. She started number 60. Pretty sure she should be through, and if she's not, she should be through 800 in the next minute or so, or next 30 seconds, I would have thought.
She's through, Patrick.
Just gone through.
Yeah, 14 seconds down, 29th position, so that's probably as expected on the first 800-metre continual climb.
Haga, the Olympic 10-kilometre champion, and coming up towards the 3.3. She's got a way to go. Haga started okay, 6.2 behind, but the margin's going to be well over 10 seconds. And she's not going to add this title to her Olympic title, because we know now that Therese Johaug did not let up one little bit on her second lap. Just behind her is Therese Stadlober. Those two could work well together.
Well, I hope our camera can shift on to Ebba Anderson coming into the finish, the last part of her race, just to see what the body language says, but she was dropping off the pace.
Østberg was 20 seconds behind last time we saw her. Has she managed to pull the places back? She was in fourth, actually, behind Parmakoski. Parmakoski's time there, another 10 seconds. No, she's not going to match that.
Østberg, composed skiing. It's not the top form that we saw so often from her last season. The spark isn't quite there yet, and the time indicates that, but it's still fourth position from a 44 pip start number.
I still think we're going to see something special from Østberg when her form comes this season. I think she looks a little, you know, her body looks just a little bit lighter. I love the style. I think she's very, very smooth and efficient on the ski. So I think she's got potential for this season.
Charlotte
Anderson
Calla.
now.
Yes, there's Anderson. She still has fight. Calla's gone through 3.3, 10 seconds behind.
From the top of the hill, 30 seconds. It's around 40 seconds from that point down towards the finish. 23 still in hand for Ebba Anderson. Almost certainly she's going to get her second podium of the season. She finished third in Ruka, behind Johaug and Calla. She might beat her teammate today, but she will not get the better of Therese Johaug, who is sitting in the leader's chair at the moment. There goes the 26-22. It's all about defending second place now. Another 60 metres or so to go for Anderson. The Swedes have had a brilliant start to the season, and this is another good run from him. 9.2, and at 8.3 she was 10.4, so she had a very strong finish.
That's incredible. What a super talent she is, and still only 21-year-old.
Sweden's next big star. It looks that way. Welcome back to Lillehammer. And Stadlober now on the charge for the finish. This is not the sort of form we saw from her in the Olympic Games. She was ninth, just 1:15 off the winner's time. That was Hager, of course. And then so nearly got the silver medal in the 30K. Stadlober 1:01 behind. I think she might be quite happy with that. Goes into third for now, but I should think Kalle for 1 and Palmakoski for 2 are going to beat that time.
Well, Palmakoski at half distance, with some of the big names gone through, was still third place, so well, she'll hang on to that right now, and maybe hang on to that for the whole race.
Yeah, Palmakoski looking for a time around 50 seconds behind the leader Johaug, and that is going to be quite a challenge for Charlotte Kalle. Osberg, of course, also in there, has been ahead of Palmakoski on the split so far. And Palmakoski 43.5. Stadlober pushed down a 4.
She lost a bit of pacing there towards the end, Palmakoski. I thought that was going to be a 25, 30 seconds behind, but unlikely to stay on the podium with that time. Jess Diggins, Patrick, we saw her start 29th position through the 0.8 kilometre. That dropped to 22nd through the 3.3, and now she's in 8th position. So beautiful pacing there from Jess Diggins, 8th position at half distance.
And having started number 50, there aren't so many behind her. She's got Hager, who we know isn't really challenging. Charlotte Kalle, yes, and Stina Nielsen. So if Diggins finishes, she knows she's only going to drop 3 or 4 places at the worst. Heidi Weng is into the finish. She is 1:08 behind, just missed out on Stadlober's time, so she lies 5th at the moment. So many times we've seen a Norway 1, 2, 3. That is not going to happen today. I think it might be Norway 1, but it looks highly likely as if it could be Sweden 2 and 3.
Ingemarsdotter, she's strong, she's more a sprinter. The distance quite tough for her, but the strength is there. You can see the power going through the skis. Little hesitation on the right side there. The technical experts say there needs to be continual flow all the time. The best skaters do that. But then whose legs would not be tired? A straight 800-meter track time with a continual climb.
Yeah, just the upper body shifting to the side, outside the line of the hip. That's often a sign of fatigue. When you get tired, Mike, do you find you get more out of the arms, or you have to try and get more out of the arms than the legs will give you?
Well, my most recent experience, I found when the legs were tired, there was the balance and everything goes. But that was back in March. But yes, in racing, I think when the legs go, you just have to back off. You just need to get some blood flow back through the legs for recovery.
Now, Hager, the Olympic champion, up to 5.8. 5th place at the moment, having been down in 7th at 3.3. So Hager running a similar race to Jess Diggins. Here comes Sadie Bjornsson, 3rd yesterday, and that's not a bad run, only 1:17 behind, into 6th place. So we could well have, or should have, 2 Americans in the top 15 come the end of the day. We might even get 3, because we're waiting to see what Jess Diggins does. Charlotte Kalle is coming up towards 5.8. This could be telling. She was 2.2 behind the leaders at 5K. So Charlotte Kalle now at 7.1, fading a little, but in a position to challenge for second.
Sorry, no, that's 5.8 actually, just up the climb. So I think she's got a chance. She was always going to lose from Stadium up to that point.
but Kalle was 9.8 behind at 3.3, Mike. She got it to 2.2 at 5K, so she had a phenomenal descent down into the stadium.
Yeah, good skis, so that's good news for her for the final 2.5 kilometers on this track.
But she's a bit bigger than Therese Johaug, so is it the mass that's counted there, or do you think that's mostly skis?
I think that's skis. The Swedes yesterday, they looked like they had very good skis in relation to the rest of the field.
Well, there you see the standings at the halfway marker. Johaug, Anderson, Kalle, Palmakoski, Usberg, Weng, Haga, Diggins. All the big names are in there. No real surprises amongst that leading group of 8. And I don't think we should be surprised by Johaug's performance, having seen her in action a week ago in Finland. Well, not a bad crowd for the Saturday morning race. Evening races, Mike, a little difficult without the floodlights. So I don't think they really have any choice at the moment. Yesterday, certainly, the sprint event would have been fabulous in the evening, but you've got to have your 24 hours recovery before you go into a 10 or a 15K.
I think so. I think certainly we would have had more spectators yesterday when you see the numbers coming out today. But, yep, midday race is not ideal on a Friday. But athletes vital, especially with 3 days of intense racing like this. They need the recoveries. Settlin
of Sweden is going okay as she approaches the finish just inside, I should say, the top 10, going through 8.3 kilometers. And if she can gain, what, 4 or 5 seconds in the closing 500 meters, then she's got a chance of going ahead of Stadlober. She might just catch Heidi Weng as well, although I don't think that's likely. How has the last section been? 30 seconds or so from here, so she's going to be 1:35 behind by my reckoning, and that is only going to be good enough to challenge Belarukova, who's lying in 8th at the moment. Good strong finish coming in from Settlin. Brennan, though, I think is safe in 7th place. Just. And Settlin does get ahead of Belarukova, so not a bad finish at all. A gain of 5 seconds. She needed 10.
You know, the work, the fight that this new batch of Swedish athletes have, they're really taking themselves on every millimetre of the track to their limit of comfort, of technical ability. Very well coached.
Usberg and Johaug's time goes now 25 seconds or so, and if she can do that, she's going to go ahead of Krista Palmakoski, which she should do. She had a 9-second lead over Palmakoski at the 8.3 split. So a good run, a better run from Usberg. But what she doesn't know is what Charlotte Kalle is doing behind her. And I'm afraid it's going to be a 4th place for Usberg at best today, because Charlotte Kalle's having a storming run, producing a negative split at the moment. Last 50 meters for Ingvild Usberg. Such a consistent servant for the Norwegian team. 34 seconds the margin, 3rd place for now, but the podium slot is going to vanish in, what, some 10 minutes time as Charlotte Kalle comes across the line. Charlotte Kalle started number 58. What about Ragnhild Haga, Mike? Is she climbing? She was down in 7th at 5. By 7.2, she was up to 6th, so she is making gains.
She is 35 behind, and with Usberg just crossing the line, that's a good chaser for Haga.
No celebrations yet from Johaug.
She's
Do you
checking.
think she's checking her own stats, or is she checking the progress of Charlotte Kalle? I suspect the latter.
The latter, and she'll be checking, right, where is Kalle losing on me, or where is she gaining on me, to give Teresa an idea what's going to happen.
Well, a nice mix of nations in the top at the moment. Norway dominant with 3, Sweden have 2, the USA are there, Finland are there, Austria with Stadlober. I think they'll be happy with Stadlober's performance, but she looks as though she's got another, what, 10-15% to give. Johaug is in prime form. How long can she keep this going? Often when you win easy in the first 2 weeks of the season, Mike, a big dip follows.
Possibly. I was just wondering, 2 years away from World Cup racing, the attention, the cameras, racing, training on your own. So she's come in at the top of her game. Just wondering, maybe will she get even better once this is her form right now, getting used to the new routine. We'll have to wait and see. Comparing notes.
Yep.
Haga,
So,
well, this is what, the 8.3.
are we going to see 3 Norwegians in the top 5 today? This split is absolutely crucial. The Norwegians haven't been quite as quick as the other teams from 8.3 to the finish. It's not like them to make mistakes with the skis, but we have seen it, particularly in Sochi back in 2014. They certainly lost out on a lot of medals due to waxing errors, or ski errors, really, base errors, wasn't it, as opposed to the actual wax.
It was quite amazing. You'd never expect that from one of the biggest teams, the biggest teams in cross-country skiing.
So Kalle is not going to challenge Johaug at 8.3. Østberg, yes, she can certainly get ahead of her. The question really is it going to be Kalle or Andersen who finishes in second? And as you can see, the margin swinging towards Ebba Andersen, who had a very good run up this climb the second time round. And so Kalle now has work to do. She started slow, picked up the pace, but is starting to fade again. 16 behind, 6 behind her teammate.
Well, Johaug is realising this is another great day for her at World Cup racing. Diggins, the fighter that she is, always giving everything on the track. At the last check, she was 55 seconds behind.
She's going to end up 125 behind. I think by the time she comes into the finish, it will be close between her and Sadie Bjørnsen. And at the moment in the finish, we have Bjørnsen of America in 7th, Brennan in 8th. I think we're going to have the 3 Americans all side by side. The presentations.
Made a mistake there. Jess Diggins, it was at 7.2 she was 57 behind. And then she lost an awful lot in that 1 kilometre to 8.3, where she dropped down to 126 behind.
And that margin has just grown, not by much, but it has grown, and it means that she misses out and is the 3rd of the 3 Americans out there today. So that's great news for Bjørnsen, Brennan. Diggins is there. They will come up as a team. Expect them to see their positions. Johaug knows that she is the winner for the 2nd week in succession. Two wins, 150 points out of 150 in the Distance World Cup. She's back, and she's back in some style.
She means business. Putting her authority on the race very early, and it was the time to beat. And maybe Kalle trying to stay with that early time of Johaug's was her undoing. So Kalle was 16 behind. I think she'll pull at 8.3. She was 16 behind. She'll pull some of that back.
But Kalle, Mike, she was 7 behind at the halfway stage. She lost 6-7 seconds in the first 800 meters. So it was a steady start, but I just wonder whether, whether it was skis, whether it was the fact that the conditions getting harder as the race goes on, the uphills start to get cut up.
I think the track has become more difficult, slower to ski on, and we saw Kalle turning left and right to find the most solid piece of snow to ski on.
Yeah.
When it's mushy, it's more energy. And
Johaug, starting at number 19, had a very good first lap, kept the pressure on the second, but, we can only guess as to what the conditions are worth, but it has to be a 10-second swing.
I would think so, because most of the track, yes, the Nordic combiners were out racing on only small parts of this track. They were only on a 2.5 kilometre lap, and you can see just how wet the track is now, splashing every time the baskets hit the snow. Ingmar's daughter, it's going to be a top 10.
Ingmar's daughter in the white vest, and the time 1:22, so she splits up the Americans. Well, here comes the last contender for a podium finish. We thought she might challenge for second place as we watch number 56 come in. Ragnhild Hillhager, the Olympic 10-kilometer champion. No glory today, but it's been an okay performance. Anything less than a minute behind is going to get her into the top 5. She goes into 5th. 55.9 the difference. So we have Johaug, Anderson, Østberg, Palmakoski, Hager at the moment. Only one more athlete can change that, and here she is, Charlotte Kaller into the home straight. 7.8 behind already. She won't match Anderson. Østberg on 34 is no threat, so Kaller goes into 3rd. She was 2nd in the distance race last week. A good, solid start to the season. Interesting to see that Johaug didn't celebrate until Kaller crossed the line. That's some respect.
That is, and she knows that if anyone can finish a race strong, it's Charlotte Kaller. Bringing back memories from Sochi again, where she went from 4th to 1st on the last leg of the relay.
2 wins already. Charlotte Kaller, unbelievable that she's already recovered, but I suppose the last 30 seconds was downhill. They race year after year. Often when the snow conditions are bad, they all end up in the same place to train on 5 kilometers of poor snow. Had a look at the French biathlon team training, and they've been alternating skiing and running. It's been so wet up at Sushen, just above Lillehammer. Conditions not ideal. Other teams going way north, others going to areas where they have indoor tunnels.
Kontiolahti was good. They put snow out on the 12th of October.
Belarukova leading the World Cup at the start of today, and she's out of the big point-winning positions. She had 150 points, so she was 40 points clear of Nielsen, and actually I think Belarukova may hang on to the lead. Johaug moves on to 150. Nielsen to finish. The last of the big stars, but she's never really been at the races today. She's not on the leaderboard of any of the splits on the way round the course. Her sprinting is at about 95% at the moment. Her distance racing requires a little bit of work.
It does. Last point of checking her time, 8.3 kilometers. She was 17th position, 1:37 behind. So Therese Johaug today has done a whole lot of good to her deficit of, what, 33 seconds effectively. You got 30 for the win in the sprint yesterday.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Nielsen gain a few places. 17th at the last split. She's a very good finisher indeed, as you'd expect from one of the world's best sprinters. 15th place, so 1:36 the margin. There are your podium finishers, and Johaug, Anderson and Kaller. Anderson really is the revelation, Mike, isn't she? She's young, she's shown what she can do. She started incredibly fast to challenge Johaug. Couldn't quite hang on to it, but the margin at the end is only 9 seconds, so not nearly as big as we thought it would be.
Yeah, she's quite 2 weekends. 3rd last weekend, 2nd today, Anderson.
Well, you can tell that she's the one with a nervous smile. Hasn't been there as often as the other two. So Norway get a home win with Therese Johaug, who will help keep their points going in the Nations Cup. But Sweden will be delighted with the way things have started this year. They've got so many potential winners. Anderson, Sundling, Kaller, Setlin.
So, Therese, back on top of the podium again. How was the track at Lillehammer?
Oh, the track in Lillehammer is really tough. It's hard, but I love it. So I have to fight for myself. Out there it was hard conditions, but the condition for me. And I heard that Ebba was really fast behind me, so I have to work all the time.
Okay, that was really well done. How did the sprint? First sprint session, how did that feel?
The sprint yesterday was good. I was just 7 seconds behind the leader, so I was really happy with that. But the race today was really good, and I'm looking forward for tomorrow.
Perfect. Congratulations.
Thanks.
So there's your winner. And she makes it 2 distance victories from 2 distance races. Therese Johaug, one of the favourites to win the mini tour here in Lillehammer now. So the first of 2 races completed now here in Lillehammer, and here are your standings at the finish. The top 10, again, Norway and Sweden dominating. Parmakoski a little bit better each time we see her go, so she'll be challenging for a win before too long. Jessie Diggins might be a bit disappointing, but we know what to expect from the Americans, but she's won here before. We wanted to see her challenge again.
Yes, it was a good fight, but I think we'll see much better coming later on in the season from Jess.
Top 30 getting World Cup points, and a good quota of those going to Charlotte Kalla with her 3rd place. 30 points in all. The World Cup points halved because it is part of a mini tour. That puts Charlotte Kalla into a reasonably good position to challenge for the win. She's the only non-Norwegian to have won the mini tour here in Lillehammer.
Ever, isn't that incredible? Yeah. It's always been a traditional Norwegian title.
But Johaug, I suspect, is going to be the one they have to chase. We're still waiting for the calculations to be made as to their start positions tomorrow. A chasing start.
And it's going to be with Kalla and Anderson, both podium, all 3 of them, the same 3 on the podium in last weekend's classic race over 10 kilometers. It's going to make tomorrow an absolutely brilliant battle.
And of course, Østberg finishing 4th, where she did last week. Belarukova has dropped a bit. She's down in 14th, having finished 5th in the classic race last week. And Parmakoski has moved up 1 from 6th to 5th. So slowly making some progress. Any big surprises in the top 15?
Well, I think Belarukova, you mentioned there, biggest surprise for me. I think the conditions were better. She was an early start number at 17, but certainly not as effective in freestyle as she is in classic. She'll be good again tomorrow, challenging, I think, a top 5.
3 Americans in the top 15. They're only separated by a couple of seconds. Is that a good thing to have the whole team at the same level?
I think it's a very good thing, and I think especially for the relays, which come up next weekend, I think when you look at the three of the American girls there, top 12, that really will give them positivity, impetus, and the belief that they can regularly, they have done it before, get medals in relays. Just trying to see where the 4th placed American is. Yeah, Caitlin Patterson in 30th position, 2:28 behind.
Well, here's part of the tradition. You get a dodgy-looking sausage and roast it over the barbecue. Someone will have a leg of venison there somewhere. Well, they'll hang around because the men's race coming up later on. We've also got some ski jumping coming up from Lillehammer later on. David Goldstrom will be on top of that, or from Nizhny in Russia. My mistake. And the ski jumping tour well underway. Nice to see some unusual competitors in the top 3. They never get very good conditions at this time of year. It's not an easy sport. Cross country doesn't really matter how much the wind is howling. They could do with a bit more snow, but the tracks are in good nick. They've been out, there's a lot of artificial snow around, so there's no danger of the snow running out over this weekend. So that's it for the women's. We're waiting for the start of the men's in just over 35 minutes time. They start at 1/4 the hour. 15 kilometers the distance. Bolshanov the man to beat, and Klæbo, of course, trying to make up for the fact that he's had 2 bits of bad luck in the space of 3 races. Should be a cracker. Do join us for that. For now, though, from Lillehammer, goodbye.